Coming up this week on the Digital Lifestyle Show, we have Paul Gilby, organiser of SynthFest, which is a synth music tech festival coming in Sheffield in October. I went last year. It's actually a brilliant event, all sorts of stuff, synths and music technology and modular stuff, and it's a really great show. So Paul's going to be on the show explaining what the festival is, what the show is, where it is, how you can get tickets and what kind of thing you'll see there, some great seminars. But Paul is also co-founder of Sound on Sound magazine as well, so I get to have a quick chat with Paul about that amazing resource and magazine that's been going for many years for music technology. So really great show. Hope you enjoy it. Paul Gilby, welcome to the show.
Nice to meet you, Ian.
Yeah, it's great to have you on because you are the co-founder of Sound on Sound and founder of what we'll talk about tonight, SynthFest. So we'll talk Sound on Sound in a bit, but first I want to talk SynthFest. So tell us what SynthFest is and when is it coming up?
Okay, SynthFest is on October the 7th, Saturday, October the 7th in Sheffield, which is otherwise known as Synth City for obvious musical heritage reasons. And we created SynthFest back in 2016, really to bring together what was going on in the modular movement and the fact there were lots of modular meets going on around the country. And there was no show where people could come along and explore what modular was all about, and also get their hands on keyboard synths, or the traditional sort of keyboard synthesizers from the likes of Roland and Yamaha, and also give them some seminars where they could learn about things from experts in the industry. So we brought the show together, and the first show, as I say, took place in 2016. And we've had it in 2017, 2018, 2019. We had to skip 20 and 21 because of COVID. We came back last year in 22 with the biggest show we've ever had. And we had over 1,000 people come to that show last year. And so far this year, ticket sales are looking as if they're trending in the same direction. And we have over 60 brands exhibiting at the show. So it's continuing to grow its success, and it's really just become established on the annual calendar now that if you're into synths, you go to SynthFest.
It's such a brilliant idea. I came last year, and I came with my sons who were 21, but they're both interested in music. One's keyboard, one more guitar. But I cover a lot of tech shows, CES, and even used to do some of the music tech shows in Birmingham and whatever. But I just went as a normal fan, turned up, bought the tickets, turned up, and we had such a good day because there was just so much there. And it was such it wasn't like a big tech trade show. It was more like a community stroke hands-on thing. It was really a great atmosphere there.
Yeah, that's precisely, I'm pleased you've said that, because that's precisely what we're trying to create. That it's not a trade show. It's a show for enthusiasts that brings that community together for one day, and it's 8 hours of non-stop fun. You turn up at 10:30 and we leave at 6:30, and the surveys that we do show that the average the average attendance by people at the show is 5.5 hours. So clearly people are hooked and they're staying there all day. But the other important thing about SynthFest when we created it is that it isn't a trade show, because we decided from the start to make it a retail show. Very few shows of that nature are actually retail, where you can come along, you can check things out, and there are many retailers there who you can buy it from on the day, put it in your bag and walk away. And that's what makes SynthFest also an exciting thing, because obviously there are bargains on offer on the day. But it's that community feeling where you're chatting to people who you've never met in your life, but they'll talk to you happily about what gear they've got or recommend bits of gear to you. And there's no sort of airs and graces. It's just a bunch of people who are just having a good day.
Yeah, that's exactly what I found. I've got quite a bit of Korg stuff, so I went down there and playing on all the Korgs, and there was quite a few new ones. And I've actually got a mod wave over here, which I bought after going to the show. So for the likes of Korg, it works. You know.
Yeah.
But then there was some stuff, that I probably wouldn't be able to get away with buying, like the Oberheim OBX. But it was great just to play one, because, I mean, years ago you could go to, I used to go to Dawson's Music in Liverpool, Knutsford, and wherever, in Manchester, and they did have synths in there. But now the music stores aren't really the same. They do have a few in some, there's still a few stores left, but they're harder to get hold of, especially some of the, like the Oberheim, the Moogs stuff that you can't get. So it's great to be able to get hands on with that stuff.
Yeah, precisely. I mean, because the retailers have sort of started to die off, and everybody's getting used to buying everything online, but there's no substitute for walking into a space, getting your hands on a bit of gear, playing around with it, and talking to the guys who are the distributors, or the experts, or in the boutique modular world, they're actually the designers and makers of the product that they're looking at and touching. So you can't get a better person to talk to than the designer and maker of the product. So from that point of view, it just, it brings that kind of hands-on warmth that we all love, that you've played with it, you've touched it. And I should say, really top-end keyboards that cost £5,000, £6,000, £7,000, you just don't come across them very often. And it's nice to be able to do that and play them.
Yeah, and it's not this. For example, I went to the Korg thing. I thought I was going to perhaps look at the Op 6, and I played with that and the Mob Wave, and came back with the Mob Wave. Watching YouTube videos, you don't get that. So, but yeah, playing on the Oberheim and the Moog thing was great, because I know I'm not going to buy one, but just to play with one. And then there was some. I mean, I'm a big fan of the older kit. I've got quite a lot of older synths, and there was a Rhodes Chroma there, and I thought, wow, I've seen that in in Keyfax. It was amazing to get on the older kit as well.
Yeah. I mean, there's often a lot of older gear at the show, and again, it'd be the first time that some people would be able to actually see one and touch one and listen to it. Whether it's just things for, say, maybe 20 years ago, like older, Roland Junos or something like that, or it's things that are from even further back in time, like the famous VCS3, of course. And there's people like Soundgas, who are specialist vintage keyboards and effects dealers, who have the most fascinating gear on their stand that you won't see anywhere. It's an opportunity to touch these things that are just historical.
yeah and like you said, the modular side, if you're into the modular side, there's no substitute for just hands-on. And like you said, many of the people were there who were designing them, and you could actually talk to them and give you feedback, and that was really nice.
Yeah. No, we love the show. We created it, but we love the show, and the feedback we get from people attending it is always massively positive. And as I say, it's now become this sort of fixture on the calendar every year, and it's just become this sort of, let's all meet up at SynthFest in October in Sheffield.
Yeah, I mean, there's not just the hands-on as well. There's the seminars which you mentioned, which I've been watching. I think I've probably watched the YouTube ones back to when it first started, and there's some really great seminars on there. So what kind of things are you expecting this year with that?
This year's very interesting because we're celebrating a number of significant birthdays. So we will be doing a talk on the 40th anniversary of the DX7.
Oh, one of my favourites.
The founder of, creator of FM synthesis that everybody struggled with back in the day, and just used the presets, perhaps most of them. But Rob Pericelli, who does a lot of podcasts for us, is a Yamaha DX nut and has a decent collection of the different variations of Yamaha DX keyboards. We'll be giving the talk. But we're also flying in from America a guest presenter, which is Manny Fernandez. And Manny was the person who programmed a lot of the Yamaha factory preset sounds from the DX7 Mark II onwards. So he's coming in and he's going to demonstrate to people how straightforward and easy it is to program FM synths. And you can't ask for a better person than an expert like that. So we've got the celebration of the DX7. The second celebration we've got is that it's MIDI's 40th birthday.
Right.
So yeah, MIDI's 40 years old, and any communication standard that's lasted that long has,
Yeah.
probably shown its worth.
Yeah.
So there are two parts to the MIDI seminar talk. Part one is actually going to be the spotlight on this year's winners of the MIDI Innovation Awards. So the Innovation Awards were run earlier this year, and there were several hundred entries in the different categories, whether they be hardware based or software based. And the winners are going to be announced on September the 16th, I believe, through a live stream. And we're hoping that some of the people who won will then attend SynthFest, and they'll be coming on stage and demonstrating their innovative new uses of MIDI and the instruments that they've designed. And some of them are just bizarre, they're just really, really different, really groundbreaking ways of doing things. But the common factor is that it's all using MIDI to connect to something. The second part of that presentation is going to be focused on MIDI 2.0. What is it?
Right. When
is it happening? Who's already adopted it? What gear's out there that's using 2.0? And we'll have representative from the MIDI International MIDI Association doing these presentations. So again, a nice special 40th anniversary event for MIDI. And the third seminar of the day, which is actually the first one at about 12 or 12:30, is something that's completely different. It's taking us right back in time, and it's about the theremin, invented by Leon Theremin in the 20s. But we have a lady called Lydia Clavina, who was actually taught by Leon Theremin herself.
Right.
She was taught when he was very old, and she is Russian herself, but lives in England, has done for many, many years. But she was taught by Theremin himself on how to play it, and she's going to be coming along with a couple of her different theremins and talking about it and telling us a bit of history and her life being taught by Leon Theremin, and what she's doing today, which is that she's involved in the Theremin Academy. That is an informal ad hoc group that meets around the UK and gives performances. And the second part of that talk is going to be with a guy called Roy Palmer, and Roy is going to be demonstrating the Moog Theremin, which is their best-selling theremin ever. And for those people who are not familiar with the theremin, the big difference is that a theremin is a chromatic instrument, and it also generates its own sounds, not just the woo 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 sort of theremin sound, but you can hook it up to Ableton and MIDI devices. So it's a MIDI controller, but it can be set to operate in a chromatic sense. So rather than you having to figure out how to play intonation on a theremin, the increments are more easily understood. So you can play it as if you're playing a keyboard.
Ah, right.
Yeah. So that's going to be demonstrated, and we're going to be giving one away in a prize draw.
Right.
So some lucky person in the audience, their number will be pulled out of a bag by Lydia, and they will win a theremin and walk away with it that day. And I'm sure she'll sign it if they want them to sign it.
That's brilliant. Because there was a Moog one on demonstration last year, and I had to go on it. I was useless on it. But the mini one sounds more like it easier to operate.
It's a far easier thing to operate.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the difference. Just to kind of draw a comparison, it's the difference between playing a violin, which is obviously continuous note wherever you put your finger, and a guitar, which has got a fret.
Yeah.
So you know that when you're fretting on a guitar, you're going to get the note that's supposed to be for that point on the guitar neck. Whereas on a violin, it takes a lot of skill to learn to play E or C or D on which string,
Yeah.
So that's the difference between an original theremin and a theremin.
Oh, that's brilliant. Well, those talks sound right up my street, and it's amazing that we took in music technology but you're over 100 years of technology. In a few sessions. But yeah, the DX will definitely right down my street. I've got a TX7, and my first synth, which I've got down there, was a DX100. So which I probably read the review of in Sound first.
Well, yeah, we most of us did.
Yeah, I nagged my grandparents to buy me one, and I still, in fact, I still do stuff with the TX7, so I still love the effect. I did a video yesterday of famous TX7 or DX7 sounds, and it's one of the most popular videos I've done for a while. So it's still a very popular thing. So I'm sure that there'll be not a lot of seats left for that talk.
Yeah, well, there's only 300 seats in the seminar room, so people need to make sure that they're
I'll get in there.
And queued up. It is on a first come first serve basis because they are free talks, so we have to dish out numbers as people are queuing up.
Yeah, that was the thing I found last year. There was especially when you first arrived, there's like so much stuff here. Where do you start? Because you've got, of course, it's in the octagon, so it's got that like octagonal room, and then you had side rooms off as well. But I think what most people seem to do is to go around once or twice, then you go and have some lunch, then come back and then go around again, which is what
I mean, we give out a map of a floor plan of the venue, so everybody can follow that and work their way around it. And some people will do it methodically and go up and down the different aisles. Other people will just go first to, if they're into modular, they'll just go and look at the modular exhibitors and bypass anybody else, and then they might go back afterwards and work their way through and grab a bit of lunch. There's plenty of places to grab lunch around the venue, not just in the venue. There's a bar obviously that sells sandwiches and things, but literally outside is the student union, and they have bigger bars and more restaurant style foods and shops that just sell sandwiches. So you can get any kind of food there and any kind of drink there, and it's all in one place. So that's why people stay there all day.
Yeah, I think that's why I did. What was the reason why you chose Sheffield? Because I mean, as being based up north, I think it's great, but why not London?
Synth City.
Yeah.
The heritage of Sheffield. As Sheffield is the city that established electronic pop music in Britain, with Heaven 17, Human League, Cabaret Voltaire. Other sort of bands that came along, and it's got a strong music culture that still exists today, obviously with the Arctic Monkeys being particularly famous in recent years. But it's all to do with the fact that Sheffield has got this reputation as a synthesizer city, and it's got this nickname as Synth City. And we do have the likes of Martin Ware from Heaven 17 turn up. He's been a couple of times, and Phil Oakey from Human League's been 3 times, and they'll walk around the show and you can talk to them. They're very approachable. I mean, Phil lives locally. He still lives in Sheffield, so for him, he loves coming down, and we'll walk around and look at all of the gear, and no doubt probably place a few orders afterwards. But he's happy to talk to people, and he's got a great knowledge of synths, so he's very a true enthusiast.
Yeah.
So it's in Sheffield for that reason, and it's not in London because every other trade show or music show seems to be in London, and we thought, why should it be? Let's put it in Sheffield as the venue, which is central in the country. It's easy to get to on a train, easy to get to on the motorway, on the M1, or across from Liverpool or Hull, or the M62 links into the M1. It's very easy to get to. So it's central, and I think 1,000 people coming last year proves that geography isn't a problem. Yeah,
and it's got good. Yeah, like it's easy to get to. There's a good car park. I didn't no problems parking. Yeah. You just wander straight in. It was. I found it was great. I mean, it's only a half an hour drive for me, so it was brilliant.
Yeah, good.
And if it'd been in London, it's a big whole. It's a whole big thing to go down to London and shows, and it's nice not to be London centric for a change.
Yeah, and the hotels are cheap around Sheffield, so those people who come, up on Friday night. Stay over, and then they're straight in the show at 10:30 on Saturday morning. It's not a big cost because you can pick up hotel rooms or Airbnbs around Sheffield very easily.
Yeah. So from when you started 2016 to now, how have you found the event has changed?
Well, more people. The first year we had about 585 people came, which for the very first event we were very pleased with, and it's built from that up to over 1,000 people now. The main change has been the seminars. The first year we held them in the lower floor, in a room that really only sat 60 people comfortably, and there were queues out the corridor. The queue was 200 people long, and we had to, disappoint a lot of people. At that particular year, we had the radiophonic workshop there as well, talking, and people were kind of, travelled a long way, and weren't able to get in. Were obviously upset. So, we decided to solve that problem by working with the student union, which is next door, and you can get into the seminar room across a link bridge. So you don't have to go outdoors, you just walk across from one building to another across a link bridge. And that seminar room, we were able to boost the capacity up to 300. So that's a much better experience for the seminars than it was the first year. So that was really the main improvement. That first year gave us a lot of feedback, and that was the big thing that we needed to solve, which we've done ever since. So, that was it. Everything else, pretty much the same.
Yeah. And so you mentioned the date. So how does anybody, do they need to pre-book tickets or?
I would say yes, please, because last year we had pre-sold. I think we had about 800, and the venue is only supposed to have 1,000 people in at any one point in time, and we were very close to that number. So we actually had to stop people coming through the door, and we couldn't sell any more tickets for about 2 hours until we'd assessed that people had actually left for the day, and then we could restart selling tickets. So the thing to do is to go to the website, go and buy a ticket, and you'll be guaranteed that you can get in. And you get a free bag with your ticket.
Yes, actually, my
free tote bag.
My son loves that bag. He takes it easy when he goes to work. I think he takes his sandwiches in or something. He thought it was great. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a free cotton tote bag which everybody gets. It's included in your ticket price if you buy the ticket in advance. If you walk up on the day, we can't guarantee we've got any bags left.
Yeah.
So that's another reason to buy an advance ticket. Don't rely on walking up on the day, because you won't get a bag.
And that I bought the tickets last year, no problem. It was nice to see it, easy, and it was straight in as well. I was there 11 o'clock, something like that. Walked straight in. No, there wasn't massive queues, but it was great. And you mentioned the list of exhibitors I've got on the website is amazing. There's
over 60 brands there.
Yeah, all the stuff that you want as a music tech enthusiast is there, and plus a lot of like you mentioned, the smaller guys as well. So you've got the big Yamaha, and then you've got the small modular creators. And I met a guy there that was making some kind of MIDI control out of wood thing that he was doing himself, and you've got that full range of people there. It was brilliant.
Yeah. And every year we've got slightly different exhibitors and companies who are brand new startups who are coming to SynthFest and showing their product for the very first time to the public to get some feedback or hopefully sell some on the day. But there's some bizarre stuff going to be there. We've got a company from Italy, which if you scroll down, it's we can have a look at it now actually. Officina del Melista. Yeah. That's a very interesting. That's a synthesizer.
Wow.
That is a synthesizer. You think it's a turntable?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, its origins were a turntable, but you move those sensors around, and the turntable basically is a way of sequencing the music, the sounds.
Right. Yeah, because you've got the rhythmic control of the playback speed.
Yeah. So it's a bit like kind of a punch card reader or a QR
Right.
code reader.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be great to see that. You know, these guys are coming across from Italy to show this for the first time in the UK.
Yeah, and that's just something you're not going to see in even in a specialist music shop. You know, there's just not, you're not going to see that, are you? And you can watch videos online, and they're great. And you know, I do like to do my videos, but there's nothing like being there with and like you said, you talk to the guys that are making it.
Yeah. I mean, if you just go back to the list, you know, there's all sorts of stuff on there. But you know, if you've never seen some of this gear, it's there for you to physically touch and talk to the people. But I mean, Synclavier are there this year. They're coming over from the base in Canada these days. It isn't the original big Synclavier from the 80s with the big keyboard and everything. This is just the main sound producing unit, and it's a new generation version of that. But again, I think that's possibly the first showing of that product in the UK.
Yeah.
You know, there's also not just hardware. I would point out to people that we've got quite a lot of soft synths there as well. People who are developing their own soft synth modules, or people who are developing modules for use on the Cherry Audio system. So there's some software products there as well. And then there's organizations who come along. There's a new synthesizer research unit who are mainly academic based, but they're coming to talk about what they're doing in their research on their stand. So that's going to be interesting. Where is it? The Synth Research Network, I think I've put down there. Yeah. Not sure what's on their website, but yeah, there is Synthesizer Research Network. So if you're interested in those sorts of things, you know, they're good people to have a chat with. Who else on the list? If you want to pop back, I'll just have a scroll down. If you can just scroll up. People like Rides on the Storm, they're coming over from Germany. The MIDI Innovation Awards will have a stand, and we'll have plenty of pictures and some of the gear there that won awards. So there's all sorts of stuff. And then people who are selling things, you know, like patch cords and power supplies and small effects units, and a couple of retailers who are selling Eurorack modules, and then big retailers like KMR Audio are coming up from London, who will be selling at good show prices, all sorts of things from regular keyboards to modular to effects units. So yeah, it covers everything. You know, you're not going to see all of that stuff in one place anywhere else.
No. And it's a great place to meet up with you know, the enthusiasts. And I've spoke to a couple of people when I've been talking about doing podcasts with them, and say, oh, we could meet at SynthFest and work it out. You know, it's a place, you know, where enthusiasts can meet up, isn't it? And I've covered a lot of tech shows like CES, and a lot of the people that cover CES, we would always say, oh, we'll meet at CES because it's just your annual place. And you know, so this is a great thing where you can just get together with other enthusiasts.
Yeah. Well, that's I think that's why it's become more successful year after year.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait to go. I'm really looking forward to it. So I think my lads will be coming as well. Whether I'll come back with an OBX or a modular, I'm not quite sure. I don't think I'll get away with that, but you know.
Well, if your wallet doesn't stretch that far, maybe you could just come to the Sound stand, and you could buy a SynthFest mug or a SynthFest T-shirt.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll include links for all this are going on the show notes of the podcast, and like I say, I'll be there anyway. So I'll have my podcast kit with me. So I'll usually just walk around and catch anybody that with a microphone I can catch with the podcast. I'll try and grab that. So we'll have some coverage after the show on here as well. But before I go, I just wanted to mention being co-founder of Sound on Sound. What a fantastic institution that is for music technology and musicians in the UK. It's the magazine has just been a part of of my life, I've been buying it and drooling over things that I couldn't afford, since the mid-80s. But it's amazing how well that magazine is doing in its its longevity, because other music tech magazines have been and gone in that time.
Yeah. Well, we're 38 years old. So I'm showing my age. But we've still got the passion, and we're privately owned. We own the magazine. We've never sold it to a big publishing company. And I think that's really the root of its success and why it's continued to be published for so long, because we've got a very simple management structure. We either want to do something or we don't. There's nobody else saying that's over budget or you can't do that or whatever. We've developed the business over the years, and we founded it, my brother Ian and I, we founded it on a very simple premise, in that we wanted to create a magazine that informs and educates, because we were passionate about recording gear and synthesizers, and we wanted to reflect that in the standard of editorial. And because it started by the two of us who are editorial people, we're not publishers, businessmen, or advertising salespeople. We are editorial people. We've never allowed the advertisers to take control of what we say about their products. We've maintained that impartiality as a sort of an important value to the business. And I think over the years, that's sunk in to the readership, and the industry respect us for that, and therefore our reviews are always considered to be the best on that particular product, not just in the UK but across the world, because we do now publish the magazine in America.
Yeah, so that's the key thing you mentioned there, that the magazine is available as a digital magazine now, isn't it? So it's not just it's not just available in the UK.
Yeah, well, it's in print in America as well. We always grasp sort of the newer technologies as quickly as possible. So we do publish obviously the website, which has over 1.5 million viewers every month. We publish a digital version as a PDF, which you can download the entire magazine as a PDF and read it on your tablet. We have what's called a page turning version, which
that's the one I like.
is the one you can access that through the soundandsound.com homepage, and that's free, and you can read that online. We also have an app which you can download onto your phone or onto your tablet, and you can read the magazine on that as well. And if you've got a Zinio subscription, you can read that through your Zinio subscription as well. So it's available in multiple channels. And as I say, we do a UK version and an American version, which are essentially the same editorial content, but just different adverts in the magazine. But getting back to what I was saying, it's the success and the longevity is based on the fact that we're seen as upholding strong, values, and we won't be bought by advertisers. If we say things aren't good, they're not good. We're not worried about that. If we say things are good, they're good because they are good.
And some of the writers you've had, familiar names that you see over the years, but they're always good quality, well written articles as well, aren't they? The substantial pieces, with real content, not just like a fluff marketing piece. The real content.
We never rewrite brochures. There's too many people out there who just rewrite brochures. All of our reviews are done by professional reviewers. They have the gear, they have a studio, they work through it, they test it, they evaluate it, and they'll write a review about it. Or the people who write our techniques columns. We have techniques columns on different doors like Cubase and Logic and Studio One and things like that. And again, they're practicing musicians who are using those doors every day, and they're writing and imparting their sort of knowledge through those tutorials that we publish. So everybody who's involved in the magazine is professionally operational in their marketplace, or in their subject area, should I say. And our writers, like Hugh Robjohns, our technical editor, was from the BBC, and he became one of the trainers for BBC at their training institute, and retired from that, and has been writing for Sound on Sound for 25 years or more. Paul White, who was our editor up until a couple of years back, again, has been involved in the recording industry for many, many years. And it's the same for our freelance authors or our staff. Everybody plays an instrument. Everybody has a studio. So all of this gear is actually used, tested, evaluated. And, we hope that comes across in how we write about it.
Yeah, it definitely does. And of course, you've got a vast resource of back issues as well, haven't you, that are online, so that some of them I quite enjoy flicking back through the older ones as well.
Yeah. I mean, we've published over 400 issues in 38 years. There's a lot of content there. There's over 16,000 articles free to access online. That's the biggest body of music technology and recording technology articles, reviews, and techniques that are available in the world anywhere. And they're free.
It's a brilliant resource. I do enjoy flicking back, looking through some of the kit that I've got a radius or something, looking at the original review and compare, from that 15 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people jump onto Reader's Classifieds or onto reverb.com, and they're looking at some gear, and they go to Sound on Sound and search to read the review to see if it's what they want to buy. So we've become this sort of research resource, and we are used by education throughout the world. There are courses that cite our content. We're often asked for permission for courses to use them in their course notes, which we'll happily do. But we're proud and pleased that people, musicians, whether they be at home or professional musicians, like to read Sound on Sound.
Yeah, definitely do. Yeah, it's a brilliant resource, and so much of it is just available there on the website, which is brilliant. But it's nice to read the magazine. I haven't read the physical magazine for a long time, but there were some that were being given away at the show last year, weren't there? So I actually brought one home. I thought this takes me back. I remember why I do enjoy reading the physical magazine, actually.
Yeah. There's one further thing I would like to add as Sound on Sound is that we do have a complimentary show to SynthFest, which is called Gearfest, which took place in July, and that is a London show held at Tiled Yard in London. And it's similar to SynthFest, but it's just recording equipment. So it's microphones, monitors, mixing desks, outboard gear. There are some synths there as well, but it's mainly focused on recording equipment. So if people are interested in that as well, there is now a show. This July was the second year we've done it, and we'll do it again next July. And that's there to, as I say, to bring together all of the recording kind of manufacturers and the recording gear that people want to see and touch. And we also have seminars at that as well. So, again, it's another low cost ticket. It's like £15 for a whole day, where you can see all the recording gear you can possibly want to ogle over and chat to the manufacturers about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, brilliant. That. Well, I'll include links for all these along with the show notes, and so I'll do some recording, some stuff while we're there. But I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today. Really enjoyed that, and really love Sound on Sound. So really pleased to be able to meet you. It was great. So thanks very much for your time, and I hope you have a good show.
Thank you, Ian. It's been good that you give us this opportunity to tell your viewers about the show. Thanks a lot.
I'll see you at the show, and we'll be back here same time, same place next week on the podcast with Gary and Richard. Thanks for watching.